Hello, good day to everyone, and again I welcome you all for the second part of Moldflow refresher on meshing. This tape is created by, or the presentation is created by Autodesk consulting team. If you've been following my previous video, I cover up the meshing part right from the beginning, from the legacy way we used to create the mesh till 2017 enhancement. I would say that 2017 was one of the biggest year that we saw a huge enhancements in the way we prepare the model or submit it to the solver, and that has reduced our significant time into the mesh preparations. So in this session, I'm trying to cover the enhancements that has happened from 2018 and above version, and the way it has changed, we create the model and submit it to the solver. So let's get started with the 2018 mesh improvements. The biggest one was in 2018 was one-click meshing and analysis. This takes me almost like a 15 years back when we used to get the model at the last moment where we were about to leave the office and we get a request from the marketing team or the uh, that tomorrow I need to submit an RFQ for this component and I need to know that how many number of gates would be needed, whether it's sufficient for what one gate to fill this model, and probably I have to stay back a little bit late in the office and run the analysis. But I think with one-click meshing, things would be completely different. If you have a good geometry, you import the geometry and just select the material and assign the boundary conditions of the gate locations, and you are ready to run the analysis. The new meshing algorithm applies an appropriate global mesh density and refine the mesh around the small features and automatically, and to an extent it also try to clear up the aspect ratio and run the model successfully. The other enhancements in 2018 was on modifying the CAD surfaces. 2017 we saw that a great enhancement was done in modifying the mesh, particularly for the dual domain mesh like the extrusion or cutting the model, or having the curvature type of shapes in the mesh. But if the geometry becomes very complicated, it was not possible. With the modifying the CAD surfaces possibilities in the synergy, now you can modify the quite a complicated geometries, like in this case of reducing your pitch between the grill areas or thickness between the two ribs is possible to do that, or extrude the very complicated you know uh, geometry is also possible. So two way you can do it is using a normal or in a vector directions. Now these modified geometries can be further be exported as a step file. Probably you want to take it to the CAD file and show it to your customer. It's possible to do that as well, or probably by mistakes, if you deleted your step file from your folder and you have a study file with the CAD surfaces, it's possible to now export that geometries into the step file. Well, if it is a assembly of the part and the insert, it will be exporting a single CAD file or a single step file. The only thing is that when you are exporting, please check in the layer of the geometry, or it should be visible. The another announcements that I saw in 2018.2 was the way we were representing the bubbler and baffles to the solver. Till 2018 we used to create two lines, a distance of like 1 mm was to keep in separating between, and then we used to have like an duplicate beams created on it, particularly a very something like a V shape type of thing used to create. and it was taking quite some significant time when I'm trying to. But with 2018, I think we are ease the way we are representing the baffle and subbubbler to the with the to a solver, and it significantly reduces time. So give a try it instead of like following the same legacy way of for preparing the model. I think this can save you a significant time. The other thing was on center line extractions. If your mold is ready or your mold design is ready and it already has the cooling channels inbuilt in, probably if you're trying to do a troubleshooting on it, uh, you can create a internal surface for these geometries actually, and this can be created within your existing mold design software, or you can use the Fusion 360s to extract those internal bodies, and these internal bodies can be exported as a step file. And when you try to import these step file and submit it to the Synergy, there's a way that you can extract the uh, cooling line out of it, and it reduces a significant amount of time. They look at if it is a complicated multi-layer cooling channels. This way you can reduce a significant time, and you could able to see that some of the channels are like the open channels. I mean to say, this could be an your inlet, and then there could be an outlet at very extreme end, but in between there could be an open-ended channels or the crossing channels of this way, the way we drill it in the mold. Now with 2018.2, we can represent the cooling channel as you manufacture it or way it is being represented in a mold design. The only thing is that you need to assign the inlets and outlets, if at all, if you are trying to put those stagnation areas, means the open ends on the two of the crossing channels. The another thing of beauty of the center line extraction was that it automatically assigns the attributes. If you're having like a multi-layer, too much of complicated cooling channel design, need not to worry on like which diameter is 8 mm or 12 mm or 10 mm. It automatically gets assigned to it, so it reduces the significant time. I would say it's a must try. Leave those old way of modeling the cooling channel. You can save a lot of time on it. Let's look at the improvement in 2019. Start with the way we were modeling the hot runners or the wall gates. I remember that if the part is having like 10 to 12 drops, and if I need to modify those one of the drops, I really need to like go and very zoom in. And if the part is very big, I find it very difficult to select that last beam to modify that. With 2019 now, I can easily detect that beam, or you can from the zoom in area or zoom out area itself, you can um, identify that beam and you can select and edit it. So this also reduces a lot of efforts of editing those wall gates, or the timing needs to be changed in cases. Now the members which already been following the classical way of representing the model, when I say classical, the shell mesh or the mid-plane mesh, particularly it's still been followed in the automobile industry for the long thin wall parts or uniform thickness parts, and this can be very well be represented with the help of the dual domain, and that can be now converted into the midplane as well. If you can able to represent that into the dual domain, it with the same can be converted to the midplane. Well, I used to follow this type of thing almost like a 15 years back, of extracting one layer of the skin actually, and but the problem was that if I remove one layer of the skin, and if I try to convert that into the midplane, I was not able to get that thickness attributes, and I would able to spend like a lot of time in assigning the thickness. Now, if the selection tools that we saw in 20 17 release, the same selection tool can be used over here to extract one of the skin, could be inside or outside, and can be now converted that skin into the like a mid-plane mesh and still retaining the thickness attributes. Very helpful. Particularly for the people who wants to run the analysis using the midplane model and not the dual domain. But as a side note, dual domain and midplane uses the same, Hellish solver or the algorithm to solve it. Let's look at the announcement into the latest version or the current version of 2021. Is that we made an improvement in way the surface mesh of the curvature surface is been represented. Particularly in some point of time we have seen that high aspect ratios elements are being created, but that's been fixed now. This has improved the quality of both dual domain and the 3D mesh. The most important enhancement we see is the way we represent the baffles and bubblers. In 2018, we saw that the baffles and bubblers now can be represented with the help of the single line, but we could also same times we saw that some warnings was created when we try to mesh it for the cool FEM of like we are missing the curves on this. Now with 2021 release, we need to model a single curve for baffles and bubblers, and when you mesh it, it automatically create another set of curve for it or the another set of beams. So you can automatically create a duplicate beam or duplicate curve on it, and probably this will eliminate that warning of like missing curve when you're trying to create a cool FEM bits. I hope this mesh refresher course that I tried to put it into two half was useful, and you try to now implement those enhancements that's been done from like in the legacy version to the latest version, and you'll save significant time into your model preparation. I would say that spend much of your time in result interpretations, improving the part quality in terms of the aesthetics, in terms of the tolerance, rather than the mesh preparations. I am not saying that mesh preparation is not needed, but with these announcements you can significantly save your time on that. I hope you will like those both the halves of the videos. Give me your feedback, I would be waiting for it. And once again, thank you for your time, and talk to you soon again.